Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 17 of the Laugh to Learn podcast, your weekly source for a comedic spin on all the goings-on in the world. I come to you today on a very cold and rainy day from the Great White North, and every single Tuesday evening, it happens to be Eastern Standard Time, fresh for download to listen to at work on Wednesday morning, all around the world. And it is crazy that I'm already at episode and week 17. Now, this podcast, of course, as always, comes to you completely ad-free, and all that I ask is for you to subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be listening to, or if you're the one person over on YouTube, and tell your friends about me either in person or with a share over on your favorite social media network. Today, I'm going to rant a little bit about traffic. I'm going to talk a little bit about watching porn at work, because that's obviously what you all came here to listen about. But first, let's take a deep dive into organ donation, a nice strange topic, and we're going to talk specifically about why it is so important and how the whole thing works. Let's get to it. For this week, I decided that I wanted to delve into as little politics as possible, because I think we all need a break every now and again, myself included, and I've tried this whole week to not follow any of my usual news feeds. I've been reading fiction again for the first time in like a year or so I am enjoying life and trying to stay out of the complicated world that is politics. It is also a rather halfway through the year at work, so we're doing a whole lot of mid-year accounting shenanigans. So I'm like, nope, I got to turn off the politics for a week. But I didn't forget about the podcast. So all that said, I still wanted to find something at least somewhat meaningful and important and interesting to discuss. And after thinking about it for the week, I've decided to start with a simple anecdote. Because about a month ago, I had to get a new health card. Shout out to Canada, where I have to stand in line for about 5 minutes. That's because I left work early. If I went after work, I would have been there for probably 2 hours. But either way, I stood in line for 5 minutes. I got a card with my photo on it, and bam, unlimited doctor visits. Who pays for it? All of us do. And if anyone calls that socialism, then I guess socialism fucking rocks. Anyways, while filling out the paperwork for my health card, the woman asked me if I'd like to become an organ donor. Now, my first thought was, man, that is a strange way to ask for sex. But, luckily, I noticed the ring on her finger and thought about it a little more. Realized that she was asking me quite literally if I wanted to sign up to donate my organs when I die. So I said, sure, I'm not going to need them anymore as long as you're not taking them right now. Apparently, she has no sense of humor, because she didn't even react or smile, at least, at my perfectly timed joke. But nonetheless, I became an organ donor. Now, I honestly had never thought about organ donation ever. Like, hadn't thought about it before she asked me that question. It was just like, sure, I guess I don't need them when I'm dead. You can have them. And that was it. I never thought about it again. But a few days later, I was thinking just about how I could have better delivered my really bad joke, when I realized that I know basically nothing about organ donation. Like, basically nothing. I know 2 different people who have at different times been on the list waiting for an organ, and neither of them ended up getting a transplant. I also have heard or seen the odd story, like on the news every now and again, about either someone really needing an organ and dying, and it's like a young child or like this really sad story, or someone whose new organ failed them, like they got the organ and it rejected in their body and they had this horrible death or whatever. But in reality, I've only seen the extremes, and I needed to look further into it because, like I said, I knew nothing about how you donate it. I knew nothing about how it was received, how that wait list was worked out. So today, I'm going to share what I learned about organ donation, how important it is, and hopefully I'll convince some people to also sign their organ donor cards, or in some places you can do it online, the next time that you find your way into whatever government office you have to go to, depending on your province or state or country. So, according to Canada Public Health Services, in 2016, there were 4,500 people waiting for organ transplants, and a total of 2,835 patients received transplants, while 260 people died who were also on a waiting list. This means that there's a 63%, or at least in the year 2016, there was a 63% receipt rate and a 6% death rate for those waiting for transplants in Canada. Now, of course, this only tracks people who died while waiting for an organ. It does not include people who died after they received an organ, but that's a different conversation to be had. Since 2006, the total number of organ donors has been consistently rising at a higher rate than the increase in those needing organs. So this means that we're on the right track to be able to provide everyone with an organ in a timely manner who needs one. But, of course, it would be best if nearly everyone had agreed ahead of time to be an organ donor, because very few people actually donate organs while they're still alive. And I get it. I, for one, ain't giving up my kidney for nobody. If you're that damn crazy, go ahead, cut yourself open, give someone a kidney. But when I'm dead, or when you're dead, why the hell are we clutching onto our pearls, or in this case, clutching onto our organs? Just take them, I don't care. And maybe one day, no one will miss out and die because they couldn't get an organ, or no one will suffer for years while waiting for an organ to show up, because like I said, in 2016, half the people, just about half the people at least, who were on the wait list for an organ didn't get one that year, which means they'd been waiting for more than 365 days, which is a long time when you need an organ. Like, could you imagine if someone was like, took out, you have no kidneys and you're on dialysis every single day for over a year? It's crazy, but it is some people's reality. And we can fix that. So the next question has to be, and should have been for me, because I'd never thought about it further than agreeing to be an organ donor. The next question logically should be, how exactly does this program work? This gets a little bit more complicated because really it depends on where you live. There will be a unique process to register as an organ donor. So in Canada, you can visit beadonor.ca. If you're in the US, you can visit organdonor.gov, so beadonor.ca in Canada or organdonor.gov in the US. Both sites will direct you on where to go and how to sign up. If you're anywhere else in the world, you can just Google organ donation in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Brazil, whatever country you're from. From there, you don't have to do anything. Literally nothing. Here in Ontario, you can even pick what organs you want to donate, and it is like that in most of the world. If you're determined to keep your liver, you can do so. Personally, I plan on rendering my liver useless to the next person, but if they find some use for it, go ahead. It'll be quite proficient at processing both THC and alcohol. Next, after signing up and becoming an organ donor, you just live your life. Go about your life. Don't do anything differently. Live the way you want to live. And then, spoiler alert, you will die. So, eventually, everyone dies. At this point, if possible, they will salvage any of the organs that you agreed and signed off to donate. Then, you'll have your funeral that you've always dreamed of. You can have an open casket. There's nothing like that. There's no scars that would be visible in a funeral circumstance. Of course, there would be They have to cut into you and whatever, so there would be scarring. I think it would scar. I've actually never thought about that. It would scar, I guess, but it would never heal because you're dead. Anyways, unfortunately, right now, the only way an organ can be donated is if you die in hospital and on life support. So you have to be both in a hospital and on life support. And what they'll do is they'll make every effort to keep your body alive while they arrange for the recipient to get to the hospital or wherever the center is they need to go. As well, they need to free up a surgery team and a surgery room to both make the transplant happen and get the organ out of the dying person because, it doesn't last very long. So a spokesperson for Health Canada has also been on camera earlier this year going around and urging people to discuss their decision to donate with their friends and family because the family is still technically, at least here in Canada, they still technically have to agree to the donation. And it's obviously a difficult decision and a difficult question, right? When the conversation, if it's never taken place, it's really tough for your parents or your spouse or your children, depending on your situation. It's really difficult for that person to be like, yeah, I guess we should donate their organs. And then you have to say which organs they want, and then you have to sign a piece of paper. So just have the conversation ahead of time. It makes all of that stuff so much easier on your family around you. Even if you don't want them donated, just tell them, nope, I need my organs to feed the worms or whatever the hell. So if you take anything from today, please have that conversation with your loved ones. It's very, very important that you do. So, after you die, the clock starts ticking. The recipient will get a call direct to their cell phones. Of course, they used to use pagers. And they need to get to the transplant center to be prepared for surgery right away. Because, as I kind of alluded to already, organs only last a few hours outside of the body. Depends on the organ, and it depends on the state that it was in, how long you've been on life support and whatever, all gets factored into it. And ultimately, it makes transportation very difficult. So most of the time, organs are only available to people in a small area where they are harvested. And I absolutely hate the word harvested when you're talking about a human, but unfortunately, it's the reality. Now, the wait list is a highly debated topic, actually, believe it or not, because the way it ultimately works is people are ranked based on necessity. So someone who absolutely needs an organ, and this could be it's a young person who needs a lung or a liver or something like that, or else, they may only have 3 or 4 months to live, would always get bumped up past someone who has more time to live given their current situation. Maybe it's an older person and has less likelihood of survival. So there's basically a whole system, a formula basically that they enter you into to be like, okay, where do you fall on the organ donation list? So it is completely possible to be on the list for 279 days and you should be the next one in line, but then someone gets diagnosed with something worse than what you've got and they get that organ even though they were diagnosed 3 days ago. It never really moves that quickly, but you have to realize that when I'm saying that these people have their phones on them waiting for a call, it's literally like staring at the cell phone waiting for that call, because it can come at any time of day from any hospital in your region, and they can be like, yo, we got an organ, go. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It does not matter where you are, where you're going. This is the one. This is the one time you have a chance to get a kidney and get off dialysis, or to get a liver and whatever. I'm not sure. Actually, it's probably dialysis as well if you don't have a liver. But it's crazy how fast you have to react. So they have hours to set all this up, to get the organ donor on the move, get the organ on the move, and the family decides, once that family says, yes, we're donating everything, then boom, the doctors are on the phone looking at the wait list. Who do we need to call? What surgeon teams do we need to get into what hospitals? Where are we driving or flying the organ? Who's going to do it? It's a crazy, crazy process. Either way, if someone gets that call, they have to get moving and get to the hospital, while a surgical team will remove the organs or the organ from the deceased person where it is packaged and labeled. And imagine fucking that job up. Imagine they pull out my kidney to get sent to someone, in a city nearby, and it's labeled Jacob's kidney, but instead of Jacob's kidney, they were like Jones's kidney, and it gets to the hospital and they're like, who the fuck is Jones? And this guy just screwed up everything. Got to be a stressful job, even the small work. You have to have respect for the simpler jobs. So either way, all of this has to be done before transporting the organ to the transplant center, where the recipient is hopefully now headed and ready to get prepped for surgery. Now, after being prepped for surgery, the individual will have the organ implanted as soon as possible, and they will begin the very difficult journey of adopting their body to the new organ. There's a lot of... it's very difficult for your body to get used to a new organ, of course. There's tons of drugs that need to be taken. Some people, especially younger people, it tends to be extremely easy, like their body just figures it out. And there's a story I was reading where a woman in her 20s needed a lung transplant. She had some strange illness that only affected the lung. It was isolated to the lungs. They were able to give her a proper transplant, and within a week, she was completely normal. She was living her life, breathing, walking. She obviously wasn't able to run or do anything crazy like that yet. But there was another one. Someone was on dialysis for over a year and a half. She was in her 30s, and she had a kidney transplant done. Actually, it was someone who was alive, a random stranger, donated his kidney to her. And within 4 days, she was walking around, and she was back at work in under 3 weeks, and her skin went back to the normal color. She is today living her life normally. That's how drastic and important these things are. Now, there's a lot of things that we can do to help one another in our lives, and to me, this is just one way of making sure that when I die, if the circumstances are correct, there is at least a chance that I can still continue to help somebody out. Straight up, I can't donate blood. Everyone who knows me knows this. I allow myself in life to live with one fear, and that is one that I cannot get over, and it doesn't matter what I do, I cannot get over it, and that fear is needles. Straight up, I literally pass out when I get vaccines. Hell no, you have to lie me down. And it doesn't matter what I'm listening to for music, what I'm looking at, what I'm thinking about, I'm going to pass out. But I always get my vaccines anyways because I don't want to be killing other people due to my own stupidity, which is exactly what fear is. Now, for me, donating blood is completely off the table. It literally could not happen, not going to happen. A lot of people can do it, good for you. I cannot fathom how you can go and have a needle stuck into your arm. Nope, not going to work for me. But I've literally told my doctor he needs to put me out if he needs to do a blood test for something. You need to gas me and then do whatever you need to do. When I wake up, I'm good to go. I cannot deal with needles. So I get people who may feel like something like that with their organs. They think it's super weird to be donating your organs or whatever, but you just have to realize that at that point in time, you're dead. I hate needles. I know, statistically speaking, I'm going to die in a hospital with needles in my arms and tubes and shit. That's the way it works nowadays. And it sucks, even more for me, because y'all are going to be like, fuck, I'm dying. I'm going to be like, fuck, I'm dying, and oh my god, there's a needle in my arm, okay? That's the way that I'm going out. I already know it. But no matter what you believe happens after you die, I don't know how you could say that it's a bad thing to at least try and save up to 8 lives by agreeing to be an organ donor. That's an incredible thing. There's the story that goes around every April. One of the hockey players that died in Humboldt, he was on the Humboldt Broncos hockey team. If you don't know the story, just search it. Anyone in Canada, anywhere in Canada, or the Western U.S. probably knows the story. 2 years ago, a bus with a bunch of junior hockey players, all of them were under the age, like right around 16 or so, as young as I think 14 or 13. But a few of them, one in particular, actually it's only one of them, was he was 16 at the time that he died, and he had agreed to be an organ donor because one of the coaches who also died had talked to him about organ donation. So he agreed to do it like literally weeks before the crash. And his organs, because they were able to keep him on life support, keep him alive, he donated his organs and saved 6 people. Like, it's completely real. Like, this is one thing you can do that you never have to think about. You have to put no effort into, like, absolutely none. You just have to sign a piece of paper, and like, I don't even know, you won't even lose sleep. Like, you're gonna be dead. Who the fuck cares? Who cares? Take your heart, take your liver, take your kidney, take your other kidney. Your lower intestine is on the list. Your lungs, soft tissue, even. Like, there's tons of shit you can do. Just look into it. Have the conversation with people. Sign up for it. Talk to your families. Make sure you help someone out when you ultimately bite the dust. A dove is known as a thing of beauty and grace, a religious symbol the world around, and in Germany, one even saved a driver from a €105 speeding ticket when it blocked the image of a security camera as they were racing down the street. Police could not identify the driver, so the charge was ultimately dismissed. And maybe next time I see a cop at the side of the road, I'll try to give him the bird to see if I can get away with it too. An English couple traveling in Amsterdam. These poor folks. I can't even get over this story. They were a little shocked when they walked up to their Airbnb, which turned out to be a shipping container with a mattress and a porta potty on the inside. Now, I think I've covered this story before, actually, but what makes it even better is that the more news has come out from this, because after tipping off Airbnb, the city of Amsterdam as well was tipped off by the man who made this reservation. The city has now come and towed away, quote, at least one, end quote, according to the city, of these containers as they were placed without a permit. So, some guy in Amsterdam was smoking far too much hashish, and he just decided to go around the city, placing shipping containers with beds in them, and renting them out without even paying for the space that they sit on. And he has not yet been caught. So, the one in particular was placed right outside of a main train station. So literally, this guy was like walking around. He's like, "Fuck! Imagine if I owned a building right there to rent out to people. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put one there, and I'm not gonna pay nobody about it. I'm not gonna ask. I'm just gonna put it there and start renting it out," which is absolutely awesome. Now, Airbnb has ultimately delisted him and has not said how many people were able to successfully spend the night in his makeshift hotels, but they are slowly removing them from the city. So if you're in Amsterdam, go get a picture, if you can, with one of those temporary Airbnb live-in units. And don't rent one out, because if you find this guy on the streets of Amsterdam and rent out his unit for the night, you could be towed away in the morning. You might wake up in some scrapyard. You got to be careful about that. Also this week, the Unknown Brewing Co., had their van stolen midday, middle of the week. Yeah, so when the owners went to the cameras, because obviously they went outside, they saw their van was missing, they saw 3 men getting in and very clearly stealing the van. Now, they first phoned the police, and then they went to Twitter and offered a free keg party to whoever found the vehicle first. And ultimately, in less than 30 minutes, Twitter user Carolyn Klimowski sent them a photo with the location of the bright blue and neon green van. Not the perfect vehicle to steal, very identifiable with giant lettering of the Unknown Brewing Co. across the side. So, yeah, it was found in under 30 minutes. And now, because more than just she helped. There were several people who had been following the van around and sharing updates on Twitter. The brewery instead has decided to offer a new beer called Van Auto Theft, which anyone can come in and get at only 20 cents a beer to cover the taxes. So that sounds like a sweet deal to me. Finally, the last in strange news for the week, London commuters just south of London heading north into the city in the morning, after listening to the driver's usual speech that they do when the doors close on the train, were then treated to several minutes of full-featured porn audio. Yes, pornography audio, as the driver apparently committed two of the biggest sins while watching porn. One, he left the volume all the way up, and two, he did not turn off his microphone. So the videos online are definitely worth a quick watch to see all of the passengers just laughing their ass off, because it's 2019. You can't even pretend it was something else. Everyone on that train knows exactly what you were doing. And buddy, maybe next time, just wait till you get home. As always, please don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and family. Tell them all about it, and the best thing you can do is tell people about it in person. If you're at work, drop that sweet knowledge like a new T Swift album. 5 stars over on iTunes would also be a sweet added bonus, and I would like to thank you all so very much for the support. Now, this week is going to be a roughly 35 or 40 minute episode because, as I said, I don't want to do politics this week. I had, I think, 3 different stories that people have sent me this week that I honestly have not even read. I apologize for that. I'm going to get to them later in the week, but I needed some time away from it. So I decided today instead to do a rant about something that is not politically inclined, but instead it is about traffic. So here I go. Traffic sucks. That's how I'm going to start this, okay? It absolutely sucks. It sucks sitting in traffic. It sucks being at work knowing that you're going to have to go home sitting in traffic. Or if, like, it's where I live specifically, because I drive south towards the city, I know that on Fridays there's going to be a whole lot of people coming home, or like as I'm driving home, they're driving up north for their vacation, because apparently I live in the sunny vacation hub of the province, which is cool, but it also sucks every Friday during the summer. And then on Monday, all the people, when I'm going to work, that are clogging up the roadways because they stayed an extra day at their cottage. It sucks. And I think there's actually a solution to traffic. And I guess that's kind of what I want to look towards, because automated cars, by everything we can tell, are really far away. Like a car that you can just jump in, that I can be like, bitch, I'm going to sleep in the back seat and my car is taking me to work. That is my dream. Literally, I don't care. Like if I own a house, if I own 4 houses that I have to sell to buy that car, I'll live in a hotel and I will drive that car every day, because it means I can get me an extra hour or 2 of sleep a day, going there and coming home. Hell yes. But until that day, I think we really need to start looking at lane assistance with vehicles, because and sort of like these new semi-autopilot that work on highways. When that technology works effectively and they can start putting it in a lot of cars, and there are tons of companies that are looking at this right now. Like, it's not just Tesla, right? Obviously, that's the big one, but Chevy has their own software now that's really big into it, and they're putting it in a bunch of their models. I know I've heard about a German company that's putting it in like higher-end Mercedes and BMW, but eventually it's going to trickle its way down into like your Volkswagens and whatnot. I haven't seen many Japanese cars. I know Toyota, I think it was, has some technology they're working on, but I don't think it was very sophisticated yet. But I haven't been following it much lately. But if you think of it like this, if in 10 years from now, because let's be honest, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but if 10 years from now, say half the cars on the road can drive themselves on a highway, right? They can do a few turns and they can get you to your exit, and then you take over from there. Think of how much traffic that would alleviate. Because when you're in traffic, this is the most irritating thing about it, right? It's 9 times out of 10, it's not because there was an accident. It's not because there's construction. That's not why you're slowing down. It's because people are looking at shit. Like, literally the other week, there was a turkey walking on the side, like 10 feet off the side of the highway, okay? There are turkeys everywhere around here. If you wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, you're going to see them fucking hobgoblin, clucking their way around, doing whatever the hell turkeys do. I don't know. But you'll see them everywhere. And I have no idea. These are grown-ass people driving cars, adults, 16 plus, but let's be honest, no 16-year-old is commuting to the city at 5:30 in the morning. This is a whole bunch of grown-ass people who are slowing down to look at a turkey walking beside the highway. A fucking turkey, okay? Just cook it and eat it. Shoot it, cook it, and eat it. Why are you stopping to look at a damn turkey? I see them, like, they're always around. What are you doing? It's so irritating. There's also just in the north part of Toronto, in Vaughan technically, there's a big theme park, Canada's Wonderland. The amount of times that I see people, like, there's always tons of traffic there. Right now there's construction, so it's kind of like, okay, I sort of get it. It's a little bit worse, though, right now. But even when there's not construction, there's tons of traffic there. And then all of a sudden, once you pass the theme park, no traffic. Does that seem odd to you? Doesn't seem odd to me. All these fucking people are stopping, looking at all the people having fun. It's like, if you want to go to the theme park, you're like, whatever. You're at least 20 years old. Get off the highway and go get on a ride. It costs like $40 to get in. Just go and get the fuck out of my way. When I feel like going into the theme park, I go. So go. What are you sitting here watching people have fun for? Go have fun. Or get the hell out of the way so I can go home and have fun. I'm not having fun sitting here looking at you look at them have fun. It's crazy as hell, these people. And that is honestly the biggest problem with traffic, is that it's completely understandable when it's something like a car accident, but when it's this stupid shit, like there's just some dumb thing on the side of the road that people are like, what? Oh my God, I've never seen that before. Or like the worst is when there's people taking pictures of shit at the side of the road. In Ontario, it's illegal. Like, you cannot have your cell phone in your hand at all. And the amount of times that I see people who are like taking photos of shit, it's like, what are you doing? How are you helping this situation? It just really bothers me. But there is hope, because I do think that when we have more assisted driving modes in vehicles and whatnot, it's going to take some of that, the human reasons for traffic and bottleneck, especially things like slow drivers, right? Like, I don't know that people really realize how dangerous it is to drive slowly. It's extremely dangerous. And I have heard tons of stories from friends who are firefighters or ambulance attendants. I ain't friends with any cops, actually, but there's probably a reason for that. And that's actually not true. I am friends with a few cops. One. Anyways, I don't know why I'm going off on this. What was I saying? Fuck. So I just cut out a whole bunch of audio and had to go back and listen because I completely forgot what I was talking about. Usually I don't edit rants, but this time I did. Slow drivers are so dangerous because the problem is when you're driving on a highway and everyone's moving at the same speed, and then, so here everyone drives between 110 kilometers, 120 kilometers. It's like roughly 65, 70, 75 miles an hour. I don't know, something like that. I don't know miles. I just made that up off the top of my head. Either way, it's more than 60 because 60 is 100. Blah, blah, blah. So slow drivers, when you come up on them from behind, the problem is that you can't tell how slow they're going until you're like right on them. And if you can't go anywhere, you're going to rear end them. And actually, here, you are at fault being a slow driver. Like, if you're doing 80 when you're supposed to be doing 100, like, that is your fault that you got rear-ended, that you were a dumb fuck, unless you had a bunch of flashing lights and shit, which Of course, the trucks going slow do, but none of the cars ever do. That shit's dangerous as hell, man. If you are afraid of driving, get the hell off the road. Find your way to a speedway and learn to press the gas pedal. It's not okay. Get out of the way. And then you drive slow and you make other people slam on the brakes and slow down and swerve, and then that causes bottleneck. That's how that shit happens. So once those people are removed from the gene pool and we have automated driving and we don't have to worry about those dumbasses, we can all get to work in a safe and timely manner. Thank you all for listening to this, the second shortest episode. Don't worry, next week will be longer, or maybe worry that it'll be longer because shorter is better for you. I don't know. And if shorter is better for you, well, you're either a certain type of guy or you're with a certain type of guy. But anyways, this podcast is, of course, ad-free, and all I ask is you share it with your friends and family. Subscribe on any podcasting app or on YouTube, and tell someone about it every single week in person. If you just tell someone about it, they'll hear about it, they'll click on it, and then they'll tell someone about it, and that is how we, of course, achieve my ultimate goal of a elected world domination. So thank you all, and of course, just know that we are only a week away from another episode.